Happy New Year. It is January 12th, 2025. And this is the beginning of what I hope to be a wonderful adventure. And I'm happy that you're at least taking a peek and seeing if you want to come along for a ride with me. I'm in a really interesting place in my life. Over the course of exactly the last 5 years, I've been through, I guess, what you could call or what I like to call a midlife awakening. Some people would call it a midlife crisis. But at the end of 2019, going into 2020, I made the decision that I wanted to become a little bit less active in the business, mentally, physically, presence, and all that other stuff. And of course, right after that, the pandemic hit, and we were all forced to create our new realities and face our new realities right out of the gate and try to continue to exist. And a lot of really cool stuff happened. But now, coming out of that 5 years, I had through that entire time, first we lived in an RV for a year on the road during the pandemic and ran the company and continued to live our lives productively, but just kind of had a little different spin on things from campground to campground and beach to beach. But it was a really eye-opening experience to getting back from that, and that really opened up my appetite for more adventure, which I had never really had in my life. And so we did a lot of different things. Ended up purchasing a place in Florida, lived down there for 6 months. Now we pretty much live between Florida and Michigan. And I'm not saying all this stuff to brag, because frankly, the way we do stuff is not real flashy, but it's about the freedom to be able to do things. And that's always been something that's been at the cornerstone of my being. And frankly, when I started a small business, I started it with the idea that I was going to have freedom. And of course, we know how that all goes. But I guess what I want to do with this channel, or this new journey that I'm on, is I want to be able to capture and share a lot of the experiences that I had along the way. I've got tons of content I've created that I could revisit. I want to go back and share where my headspace was at that point and how I think about it now after having 5 years of being able to reflect and look at how I would have done things differently if I could. But I'm really excited to be able to share and hopefully create a resource for other people. Someone who might be thinking about starting a small business. If you're thinking about it and you haven't really had somebody share with you exactly what it feels like warts and all of the stress and trauma and exuberance and all the great things that can come with it, but it is like a roller coaster ride, and it's not for the weary of heart. And also, there's a lot of things that we need to think about from a physical standpoint to even be able to do that if we're going to go into that area. And obviously, after doing this for 25 years, I've made all the mistakes, and if not all of them, pretty close. And it's just fun to talk about those things, because I think in sharing them, other people can mitigate the potential pain that they might have experienced if they went through and did the same thing. So I plan on creating trail talks like this one, because every single day I start my day out on a hike. It's a great way to start the day for me. Hiking, you'll probably learn, is a big, huge part of my existence and really my mental and physical health. It's how I stay in shape. I play a lot of poker. I started over the last 5 years, started traveling and playing more competitively, which it's a fascinating game, not dissimilar to business. And in fact, I would say if you line the two up, a big, long, multi-day tournament probably is equal to the decision making that you're going to make in business for 2 or 3 years. It's lots of micro decisions and lots of stress compressed into a really short period of time. But there's a lot of lessons I learned at the poker table that helps me navigate business a lot more effectively as well. So I'll probably share some of that, share some of the routines that you go through or that I go through when I'm playing poker and doing that type of stuff. But also, a lot of my reflection was really, I guess, searching for what I felt was the meaning of life and what was important to me. And I'll share some of that stuff because, I mean, it's different for every single person. But I think the process and the understanding of how somebody else got to their conclusion might just help a little bit in your own journey and go in there. So one of the biggest things that I realized over the 5 years was just because I was a business owner didn't mean I need to sell out who I was. And yeah, I've always been the same person. You can talk to anyone, even people I went to elementary school with. They'll say, yep, same Pete, whether that's good or bad. But from a certain perspective in business, I felt like I was posing for a really long time. And some of that is just probably a result of the way that we grew up, where, you know, you heard things like fake it till you make it, or, you know, you got to look the part, you got to do this or that. As you'll see, or as you can see now, I don't look that cleaned up business type and any longer, because I realized over the 5 years you don't have to do that. But I also realized that I despise inauthenticity, and some of that is probably anger toward the decisions I made to give up my own authenticity from a aesthetics perspective over the years. But I really don't like that. So when I think about creating this content, I don't want to think about planning and setting up shots and wonderful intros. And you've heard me say this before if you've seen any of my other content, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to follow best practices. My perspective is to get this stuff out, raw, unedited, out in front of you. I'm going to be using AI for some of the content creation. I would imagine over time, you won't be able to tell the difference whether it's me or whether it's AI, because ultimately I want to get the message out. I want to get, you know, these things that I've learned out so that they may help somebody else in making their decision to either start or not start a small business, or even if they've been a business owner for a few decades, be able to navigate some challenges that they've gone through by leveraging some of the pain that I've had, or at least as I share how I navigated that pain or those difficult situations. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have. And you'll notice that, especially in these trail talk videos, I don't like to just fill it with a bunch of words. I share what's on my mind. And when I get to the end and I have nothing else to say, I'll tell you, see you tomorrow.